My name is Sunshine Powers. I own Love on Haight on the corner of Haight and Masonic. We are a legacy business and a artist collective of over 200 tie-dye artists. I also own the nonprofit Colors of Love on Stanyan, or I founded the nonprofit Colors of Love on Stanyan and Frederick Street. We are a women's prisoner reentry tie-dye program as well as a tie-dye education center for the community. I grew up in San Francisco. My parents still live in the same house over by Ocean Beach in the Richmond. The Haight to me, I first came to the Haight when I was 12 and in high school, and I didn't have any friends and really stuck out. And I came to the Haight, and it made it feel okay to be me. And when I moved away from the city, I had a hard time coming back to the Haight once I moved back because Jerry Garcia had died when I was 15, and that was very, as a San Franciscan, it shook us as a city. But one of my friends bought the shop in 2012, and I had missed my corner, so I came back here, and together we made it our mission to revitalize Haight Street and to bring back the color, creativity, and consciousness that Haight Street is historically known for. One of the biggest issues that I had in the beginning was the 40 homeless youth that were outside of the shop. It was not good for business. In fact, the big tour bus used to stop in front of the shop, which was great for the shop, and they stopped doing that in 2013 due to the homeless problem that was outside. I tried many different things. There may have been glitter involved. And I slowly learned that you can't just tell people to leave, you actually have to give them a place to go. We work with several nonprofits helping house the homeless youth. Of our homeless youth, 75% of them are LBGT that have come to the Haight-Ashbury from Middle America or from the South where it's not okay to be them. So it would be very un-Haight-Ashbury of us to not try to house them and help them find a safe space here, because to me, ever since I was a little girl, the Haight has always been a safe space, and if there's anything that we try to do as a company, it is to keep that for whoever enters, whether they're here just for a minute or for the long haul.
Thank you.
My housing story in San Francisco is that, you know, my parents still live in the same house I grew up in. So when the economy crashed in '08 and I lost like everything, like a country music song, I came back and lived in my parents' basement because that's where to do when you start over. And I lived in the Tenderloin for 6 years because it was the only spot I could afford to live by myself, and I'm not good with roommates. And that was like free TV at its finest with no commercials, so that was like a little intense. And I was very fortunate to be able to move to the Haight-Ashbury district after working here for some time. And it wasn't easy, and I hustled, but it happened. I guess when I got the shop, things shifted for me. I received money from one of the donors to our homeless youth nonprofit to buy the shop, so instead of giving them the money back, I get to give all the money back into the community. So that definitely was a life-changing experience for me. At this current moment, I'm very privileged to own a flat just a couple blocks away. Someone had to die, and we had to borrow some money, but we did it, and we're grateful, and now we're house poor. But that was definitely a thing for me when I was younger and in my 30s, was trying to find housing here that I felt safe. And as a woman, I would walk from the Haight-Ashbury to the Tenderloin very late at night, and it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do, but I also didn't feel safe on public transportation as a woman by myself. Walking, I feel like I got more options. Anyway, being an employer here in the city, I definitely noticed that housing I couldn't keep a good employee. It was really hard for me to do anything like that. One of the really hard things about employing people here in the Haight-Ashbury and in the city was finding a place to live. You know, could they get to work on time? Were they safe? For us, we have 200 artists, so for me to train someone, it's like a 3 to 6 month process. It's not something that, like, I can't take short-term employees. That's just not our jam here. And it's a waste of my time and my resources and my staff. With the pandemic, that was humbling, and we were the first small business in San Francisco to close, and we stayed closed for about a year. During that time, we redid the inside of the shop and the outside of the shop, and I built an online store, and I started to get back new employees because I had lost all of my employees in the pandemic, including one that had been with me for 7 years. And the landlord upstairs asked if I wanted a studio because we started getting busy again, but we had like 500 milk crates for our online store in the shop because we had been closed, so we just put everything in the shop. So then we moved the milk crates upstairs. But going up and downstairs with inventory is not fun. And I am a woman that goes like this. So like then we had to get another apartment. And then another apartment opened upstairs, and 2 of my employees couldn't find a house. So I moved them upstairs, and I was like, you know, I'll pay part of the rent as the company. You hang out here. Really awesome thing, if the alarm goes off, I don't have to rush over. I mean, I do rush over here, but it's like someone gets there really quick. And I really appreciate that as a business owner. And I have to be frank, the housing situation in the beginning was a lot. You got to work out the kinks. There are kinks. And I think one good thing is, you know, if there was a temporary spot where while people figure out whether or not they're going to work for the company or not, like if they're having a hard time with housing, that would be clutch, because I don't want to house someone that hasn't worked for me for six months. It used to be 3. I think 6 is a good thing. Some people you know, but you never really know someone, and that 6 months really gives it time. My husband told me it's not about hiring the right person, it's about firing the wrong person as quickly as possible. So I really aim to just keep people that are in it for the long haul. We're on a greater mission here than just tie-dye. And once you find those people, though, you want to keep them. You don't want them to leave, and then you want them to know their neighbors. You want them to care. You want them to shop local. You want them to not have to deal with parking, and to really feel like they're in a safe community. Recently, we had like tie-dye hippie Olympics with the Dead & Company in town, and we as a company were able to really be able to shift our financial status because of it. And due to that, we're now offering a housing credit to anyone that's been here for over 6 months, because I can't at this point provide affordable housing for them all. I would like to, but that doesn't mean that I should treat other people differently if I can't, like, because they get a housing credit if they live above the shop, and I might as well give the people that don't live above the shop that same housing credit, because that's fair. I'm really blessed that somehow almost all of my employees live in the neighborhood. I just think that really shifts things a lot. You know, I really wish when they're doing these housing projects like the 730 Stanyan, that they allocated part of that to people that work for the small businesses inside the neighborhood, because that just creates better community. And they're not putting any parking over there, so you don't want people that have to go very far. And I understand we're pushing public transportation. I, as a woman, don't feel safe on public transportation, and we just got rid of the pandemic. So we're still dealing with it. So I feel like while it's a magical goal, it's also one we have to be more realistic about and take slower, smaller steps to really make sure we're not doing negative impacts on the community. So dealing with the stresses of finding housing affects my employees and affects me, and it affects the business. And when you take that out of the business, from a pure business point of view, really awesome. So for my employees, they feel safe. You know, my last boss was not, I really made it a goal when I bought the shop to be the boss that I wanted to have. You know, I'm a kick-ass worker, and I'm a great worker, and I never got acknowledged, and I never felt safe, and it was never really a team, and I really wanted to shift that, and it didn't happen like that. I would say right now, after having the business myself for almost 7 years, I finally feel safe in my team. I finally feel like I can go do these other projects that I've wanted to do. And, you know, since I started housing the employees, the business is up by 120%. So, you know, I paid my employees more and I housed them, and in turn, my business more than doubled. So for me, it's a win-win for everybody, and I don't understand why we as a city aren't housing more people, and this is totally off topic, but I really don't understand as we as a city aren't buying real estate, because we're spending and wasting so much money that we could actually buy real estate and have equity investments that just seem logical to me. I don't know if you heard about the high school in Mill Valley, but they, like years ago, the woman bought all these houses for her teachers. And today, like, it's one of the most richest high school, like literally they have houses in Mill Valley they've had for 30 years. And they have professors from Harvard that come and teach these kids high school because there's housing. It's like the amount of talent that you can get. I literally moved a tie-dyer out here from Colorado, and a big thing that I was able to do because it's like she has housing, you know, and it's like, how often do you find an African American woman MBA graduate that you can move out here? Because housing, I wouldn't be able to have the talent that I have if I didn't offer housing. Or if I didn't pay what I pay. That's just not. And that would cost me more if I didn't have that. It takes a while to figure out, and it's not like when you're looking like this, you don't see it. You're like, oh, that much, no. But when you step back and you actually are able to look at the bigger picture, you understand that in the long run, if you are trying to carry on a legacy business, it is what you have to do. The Haight has changed over the years because of the housing crisis. So it shifts the community. And like people like who've only been here for 5 years, they really freak out about stuff. And it's like, yeah, man, you need a few more years on you. Like literally I had someone complaining about the doom and gloom thing of the city, and I was like, you weren't here in the 80s. What's going on? Like, this is great. It's like the cycle that we go on as a city. Like it's gonna, and but the idea that some of the long-term residents are forced to leave, it takes away that sparkle that is part of the Haight. We are a community here, more than any place I have ever lived. We are like this tight-knit community, and we take care of each other. We take care of our neighbors. And it's really hard on us when one of them has to leave because rent goes up or some ridiculous thing is happening that doesn't make sense. And I also think that we need to really stop like a little bit of money when someone's about to become homeless or about to leave would really be so much more cost effective than having the person become homeless. So like it's like that long like stepping back and looking like this, like, okay, yes, you might be giving them $5,000 to help with 2 months of rent, but that's much cheaper than having to care, house, feed, like all of these things for a person when they become homeless. And especially with our elders, it is rude what we do to them, and it is not fair, and that is not community based. And it would just be nicer if we had more community housing, food, shelter, water. These are basic human rights that we should all have. And I just don't understand why it hasn't happened yet. I feel like the housing crisis has really forced a lot of the artisans that used to be in the city out. It's not easy, you know. I haven't paid myself really in like 4 years. Like, I'm really lucky that I have a situation with my husband that he knows that we're working for something bigger. And but man, if I had to pay myself, I'd really be in trouble here. It's hard to be an artist in the city. It's hard to be able to live. You have to hustle. And some people aren't capable of that. Some people need a timeout. Some people's personality isn't like, and like, you have to be like that in the city, and it can get tiring. And if you're not from the city, it might be like, whoa, this is a lot. And if you're from the city, you're like, I got this. This is Tuesday. But it's not easy to be an artist. You pretty much have to have a couple side hustles, a real job, and another hustle. You know, and maybe like volunteer with some social media marketing for music so you can go to shows for free. Tip. My idea of a thriving community is honestly going back to what I said before, people that really use the community as much as possible. I wanted to open up a shop in Union Square. Like, I love Union Square. I want to help revitalize it. It needs more rainbows. Why not? But I was like, is there a way I can link up with some sort of affordable housing here? Because I'm not going to open up a shop if I can't get land. I'm not asking for free housing. I'm asking for affordable housing. I'm asking for, like, where everyone can live together, maybe walk home so they feel safe and all that, like, little other action. You have to have food and grocery stores, clutch. You have to have parking if it's not a walkable neighborhood. And the reality is that you should have some parking. We have Kezar Stadium, so like there's some sort of parking area, and there should be that. That is, it's not good on people's human existence to have to find a parking spot for like 2 hours. That's just not safe. And if there's any way that there could be secured, you know, so you don't have to worry about getting your stuff broken into. Total side random your dad kind of thing. I went to the Dead & Co show, and they had a truck that had stored your stuff. Like, they searched it, but it was a locker thing. I don't know why we can't do that in the neighborhood, so like people who are traveling can put their stuff in there and not have to worry about their car being broken into. That seems very logical to me, but that's a side note. What were we talking about?
No, just thriving. No, that's great. Just thriving community is what it looks like in terms of resources, in terms of.
A thriving community is a place that you can get everything that you need and you feel safe, that you know that, you know, not only do you know your beat cops, not only do you know your police ambassadors, your community ambassadors, but you know your neighbor, you know your neighbor's name. If you need an egg, you can go, you know, grab to the grocery store or knock on your neighbor's door. Like, when the 89 earthquake happened and I was in the Richmond district, everyone came out in the street, and we all like had our our little campfire stoves, and we all cooked for each other. You know, my dad wasn't located for like 8 hours, and the neighbors made sure our gas was turned off. Like, they made sure we were taken care of. So San Francisco has always had this community, but it's also people that, one thing I find is very hurtful to our current community is this idea of I'm just going to complain, but I'm not going to do anything. So my new thing is that I'm not listening to you complain unless you're doing something, and anyone that can leave more than 2 comments on a social media post, we probably shouldn't listen to, because they have way too much time on their hands and they should be doing something. I think that's my most frustrating, that I think like certain communities lack, is like, go do it. Like, someone's not safe walking home, go walk them home. You know, your outside is dirty, dude, go clean it. Like, we are a city. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have to do our part. So I think my idea of a thriving community is when everyone in the community does their part. Obviously, the people that like have a lot of money are not vulnerable to affordable housing, but they might not feel safe in their housing, which I think is an issue too. You know, I think anyone that lives paycheck to paycheck, anyone that feels vulnerable is vulnerable. You know, you can't take away someone's feelings, whether you think like they don't deserve that. I know an issue that I deal with a lot is that, you know, we provide vouchers or housing for for people here in the city, and like with my nonprofit, I'm trying to get these girls like ahead, and if they make too much money, they lose their housing. That's messed up. We're keeping people down. Like, I don't understand that. So she can't work more because then she loses her housing. But the housing's not really that good, so she doesn't want to work more because there's like rats in it, and her like people like, that's not a good house for her, especially when she's a recovering addict. Like, she shouldn't be there, she shouldn't be in that location, but that's the only house that we can give her. But if she tries to do better, she loses that. There is something messed up in that whole scenario that is really, you know, I am dealing with a nonprofit who houses women coming out of prison, and they don't want to work with me anymore because I'm getting them out of that house too quickly, and they're losing some of their funding. So there's something wrong that's like way bigger that needs to be fixed as far as budgeting and how we allocate money and who we allocate the money to. And like, if someone qualifies for affordable housing, do we really need to make sure that they continually because if they're gonna be able to move out, they probably want to move out. A millionaire's not gonna try to live in affordable housing, and if they do, props. You know, I just don't understand why we have to make someone stay in a certain bracket for affordable housing. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, if they're in it and they need help, they need help. Help them. But don't force them to stay at an income level to keep this housing. That seems ridiculous to me, and I think if we allowed the people who are in the affordable housing to stay in affordable housing and still build a better income bracket, the actual affordable housing might become better, because these people would have money to actually put into their house to improve it, or their living situation to improve it. And who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, look at us as humans. We want to be comfortable. You know, why not help people do that? It's ridiculous. Yeah. You shouldn't have to. Exactly. And you know what? I am sure that once you're in a spot where you can move out, you will move out.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, why are we keep on I just can't. I don't. It just is ridiculous. Or, you know, if a family of an incarcerated person is in Section 8 housing, and the person gets out of jail, if they want to go see their family, it actually violates the parole, and they lose the Section 8 housing as well. It's really dumb. So, are we just supposed to keep families? That doesn't even make sense to me. I understand if they need to maybe move to a different Section 8 housing that has a different schnorf with the schnorf, you know, that I get. But to just lose housing because you want to see someone that you haven't seen in a while is not good. Well, I would say the outer sunset, but you probably have some long-termers that are going to be you know, so you have to, do it slow. That idea of taking a house and turning it into, 4. I think that would be more,
people in the Sunset would take that better, because they like, big things freak them out, you know what I mean? They used to be able to see stuff, so you don't want to mess that up for them. I really don't know why we are just letting Union Square sit the way it has sat, and it's just like, this thing is just keep on building and building, and I really feel like, I mean, there's flowers there now, that's nice. There's so many flowers there. But I don't understand why we're not housing people. I don't understand why, okay, the Hilton closed, great, don't we have monies from like Prop C to like buy a bunch of stuff? Like, why can't we buy that? You know what I mean? Why can't we house people? Can't we declare a state of emergency on housing and like do a bunch of stuff without I'm pretty sure we can do that. I might not be correct, but we can do something like that where we can actually house people. You know, why are we not housing our police cadets? You know, why are we not housing our teachers or our social workers? These just all are things that don't make sense, especially because we actually have that capability now as a city with all the empty offices, all the empty hotels, and let's be frank, isn't there something like $500 million of empty real estate that like is just empty here? Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. So I really don't understand why we're just not declaring an emergency and doing stuff. It seems like there's not a lot of action, and I'm frankly over the not a lot of action. I mean, and if I can do it as a tie-dye shop owner, then like, why can't the city do it? Because like, I own a tie-dye shop. It's ridiculous. So. Do I have any other community services that I would like to see in San Francisco? First of all, we need more trash cans, and we need like a leaf blower. Like, I am a nature girl. I had the Friends of Urban Forest do my sidewalk, schnoogel schnorf, but like, there's a lot of leaves on this street and like everywhere, and it's like, we need to be a cleaner as a city if we're trying to attract the tourists that spend like $10 million an hour and tax revenue inside the city. Like, we need a nice city. We need it to look good. We need more bathrooms. The fact that we have the Buena Vista bathrooms that aren't 24 hours a day. I literally hosed off my shop before Pilates and came back after Pilates, and the guy was peeing. Like, I was like, dude, I just hosed. And these bathrooms on Buena Vista, they're not open in the weekends. Like, that's our busy time. Why do we not have bathrooms? The idea of lockers, to me, is imperative for being able to curb car theft. You know, just telling people not to leave stuff in their car, that's not really always an option when you're driving somewhere. And maybe you don't store everything, but the valuables that you don't want someone to take, you have a safe spot to put it. You know, I really don't know why we don't use these vacant storefronts for the scooter charging and drop off, because I'm really annoyed that people just leave scooters at random spots. And, you know, a lot of times they block the handicap accessible thing for people to go on the sidewalk, and that's not nice. And I think condensing it and making the sidewalk more clear would be imperative. Us in the Haight, we had the camp, the tents, and I know that was like a ridiculous amount of money, and that goes back to the whole like, there's just money being wasted on stuff that people aren't really double checking. But camp was really good for us as the Haight. You know, we have one woman that anyone who's in the Haight knows, Mish, you know, she used to be a model on Vogue magazine, and she is just, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, two to Sunday, like, she is gone. And it's an issue every day. You know, I'll see her lying in the middle of the road crying, and like, it's just, and it's not, we shouldn't see that. She shouldn't be there. Like, it's just, and when we had camp, I didn't see her for 8 months. She didn't leave. So while it's not, it definitely worked for some people. Is it a overall solution? No. Are there a few people that it works for that can't be inside but do need a safe spot to go? Yes. Did it definitely clear up some of our corners here in the street? Yes. So do I think it's a long-term awesome solution? No. is it like a point where maybe we can house people that need to get housed, and then maybe we can just, you know, but maybe some people are more comfortable there, because when you're dealing with chronic homeless, sometimes, like after 20 years, people are comfortable there. That's why I'm so adamant about working with the youth, because I understand that in my lifetime we might not end the homelessness crisis, but I really, truly pray that we can create a generation that solves these issues, and part of that is housing that generation. But I think helping sustain San Francisco is really supporting the small businesses and the community, because I've seen a lot of big businesses come and they go. They sign a 5-year lease, they get some tax breaks, all that stuff happens, they cause a bunch of and they leave. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. And I think supporting communities is imperative. What's so amazing about San Francisco is that you can be whoever you want to be. As I feel, as long as you're good in the city. And I think it's just this really beautiful thing. So I just hope that the magic, the beat, the historical side of San Francisco stays, but I also acknowledge that evolution is key. What's really nice about evolution is that you get to keep the things that you want to keep, and you get to let go of the things that you want to let go of.